candidate Trump campaign against trade, but we see the negotiations on NAFTA taking a different approach.
Yeah.
So is this indicative of what we're going to see on everything other than his base, or is this just an aberration where he got so much pressure that he can't eliminate trading opportunities for our economy?
So let me helicopter up a little bit and give you, if you want to understand the decision-making style and approach of the president, think about the 3 Ps: proximity, pragmatism, and personality. Those are the 3 things that generally will predict how the president might act. And by the way, those 3 things are inherently unpredictable. Therefore, the president is actually quite unpredictable. But trade is a perfect illustration of this. The pragmatism of being president and the pragmatism of how deeply connected the United States is with the rest of the global economy clearly was something that got to the president, and NAFTA is a perfect example of that. You know, the whole campaign, he's saying NAFTA is an awful deal, we're going to get rid of NAFTA. That turns into, well, we're actually just going to renegotiate NAFTA. And at some point, those negotiations with the Canadians and Mexicans will begin, and one will discover it's actually kind of hard to renegotiate NAFTA, as it turns out. It was an agreement that was very delicately put together, and not much may change there. The one area where he has sort of moved ahead on trade in a way consistent with what he said he would do in the campaign is to move the U.S. out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is unfortunately very problematic for California. I think California would have benefited significantly from U.S. participation in the TPP. And the other thing it does is it frankly gives the Chinese the ability to craft their own trade deal, which they're doing now. They're moving forward with something called the RCEP, which is China's equivalent of a free trade zone without any of the intellectual property and further protections, patent protections that TPP would have provided. So the trade issue is one prime example of where the president is looking very pragmatically, I think, at what needs to happen. I mentioned 2 other Ps, proximity and personality. Personality really matters a lot in terms of how the president gets along. Particularly, you saw this with this foreign trip he just took. You know, obviously, he values the personal relationship he has with a lot of these leaders from the Middle East, not as much with Angela Merkel. And then you see how proximity matters. Whoever talks to the president last is influential in how the president acts. And on NAFTA, it's a perfect example. John Cornyn and others, John Cornyn, U.S. Senator from Texas, and a few other people had a meeting with the president, Gary Cohn, the director of the National Economic Council, to say, look, NAFTA is actually really important to our economy. We might not want to pull out right now. And that was, you know, as many of you may know in the coverage of that decision, the president started off the day saying, we're going to pull out of NAFTA, and he ended the day saying, we're going to stay in NAFTA but renegotiate. That gives you an idea of how that proximity matters a lot.